sound.
Okay, cool.
It's really amazing what these kids can do.
So you're going to ask me things about, like, what is the Internet of Things, and, you know,
Well,
what
if
got
we
you
start
into this,
with
what's your background, what's this, what's
who
that?
are you? You know, what's your background? Why would you do this?
Yeah,
You know, and then go through and say, okay, let's talk about a whole new
yeah,
world of,
Yeah.
you know, life cycle care.
yeah,
Why do I care?
yeah,
What is it?
Yeah.
Why do I care?
yeah,
Explain to me this whole IoT thing.
Yeah.
Is that like an IOU?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Good.
We're ready, call
Ready.
it.
All right, ready on set? Quiet on set. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Well, welcome. Here in Massachusetts, we take pride in the entrepreneurialism that's demonstrated. But too many times we have no idea why somebody would go into developing their own company, building their own company, and what it means. So tonight, we have somebody with us who's gone through all those steps. So why don't we start with an introduction?
Sure. Hi, Al. My name's Bob Bean. I'm a founder and chairman of Blustream Corporation. We're located in Worcester, Massachusetts. And we develop products and technology that connect consumers to the things they love so they can protect them, and to the brands that make them. We develop something called Life Cycle Care that works on the Internet of Things platform, where things are connected to your smartphone and to you to help you enjoy them better and help them last longer and be worth more.
Bob, the question always comes up. Who is this entrepreneur? So let's start with your background.
Sure. My background is I'm an engineer. I graduated with a bachelor's and master's degree in mechanical engineering from Worcester Polytech. And I left Worcester Polytech and started my own company right out of school, which was a software company in the CAD space, which stands for Computer Aided Design. So I built that company and grew it over the years and sold it to a Japanese company. Then the entrepreneurial bug hit me again to start another company, that's where I am right now.
But now, okay, so you're coming right out of Whoopee.
Yes.
I can't help it. The Holy
Yeah,
Cross,
Whoopee.
it was always Whoopee, but coming right out of pretty impressive engineering school.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been amazed at what WPI has grown into from years ago in the
Mhm.
biotech and the engineering side.
Mm-hmm.
But, okay, most people come out and they want things like a paycheck.
Yeah.
Why would you come out
Huh.
and decide, okay, I'm going to risk it all and not go to work for an engineering company and start my own company?
I think because I like to find problems that need a solution. And when I was at Whoopee, I was instructor in robotics, so I taught robotics there, and I was implementing robot work cells in companies like Digital Equipment Corporation, if you remember them, and Norton Company, which is now Saint-Gobain in Worcester, Emhart Corporation. We built robotic work cells to basically improve efficiency in the manufacturing and improve safety. So we put robots in companies, and we used CAD, computer-aided design, to design these grippers and the work cells and the robot arms and so forth all around the system. And the first product I created was out of need. I kept drawing little screws, screw threads and springs and all sorts of mechanical things that you'd find in, you'd put in a mechanism like a gripper. And I was drawing each line and arc and circle and so forth. And I figured, well, gee, the CAD system should do this for me. It's all in this book. And I started writing a program to solve that problem, make it more efficient. So I could say, I want a 1/4 20 socket head cap screw right here, and it would draw it in 3D based on the program I wrote. Then I expanded it to hundreds and thousands of elements, different mechanical things, so you wouldn't have to draw everything by line or circle. And so it was an efficiency thing. I saw a problem, saw a need, I showed it to other people, and they said, wow, I want that. So it was that's kind of the way my mind works is, I don't like wasting time and energy or trying to make it efficient.
And I think of CAD.
Yeah.
I would have immediately said, okay, go to Computers R Us and buy AutoCAD.
Yeah.
Or 3D, go and buy SolidWorks.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of a risk to take on a company that's so embedded in the engineering space?
It was. We were considered a third-party company because we plugged into AutoCAD, and we plugged into CAD Key, and we plugged into MicroStation and Ashlar Vellum and these other CAD systems of the day. So we were kind of a plug-in add-on, you can think of, to the main CAD program that did all this great stuff really quickly, all in 3D or 2D or whatever you're designing in, and just massively improved efficiency. And so we thought we would get acquired by one of those companies, but we wound up actually acquiring one of those companies instead.
Acquiring?
Yeah.
You come out of college and you're ready to acquire?
Well, that was after I built the product, which is called Draft Pack, a drafting package. We bought the engine and out of from the company that made it. It was called CAD Key at the time, CADKEY, and so yeah, that's what we did.
So now, why would somebody come to you for your add-on? Didn't AutoCAD and CAD Key already have libraries?
No, at the time, no. We were one of the first companies to develop an add-on. People had sort of libraries of manually drawn things, but this thing asked you, oh, I want a spring and I want 16 coils and I want it to be open at the end and I want it to be a length of 2 inches and have a wire diameter of a 1/4 inch, and zzz, it drew it in 3D and you popped it
so
in
it really
your
was
assembly.
standardizing. So if you said I want a number 6
Yeah.
1/4 inch long screw,
Yep.
you got the same one all the time regardless of what engineer was doing it.
Yeah, and it put the hole, the counterbore hole in your part, and it put in the tapped hole on the other part, and it automated, drawing a mechanical assembly to the point where it was very easy to save engineers tons of time.
So now you've sold it,
Yeah.
and you wake up one morning and you say, what am I going to be when I grow up?
Yeah. Yep. That's about it. Also, being at the over 50 age mark, I think some of my friends, including my wife, thought I was a little nuts to try to start a new business. But I think when I see a problem, it just eats at me until I can try to find a solution for it. That's kind of the engineer mindset.
So now you identify an opportunity or you see a problem.
Yeah.
And you say, I can do better.
Mm-hmm.
But with Blustream, you're creating there's no market for life cycle care.
Right.
You're creating a whole new, AutoCAD.
Yeah.
Okay, it makes sense that I want the same screw, and if I got 10 people on AutoCAD or SolidWorks, I want all the number 6 pan heads to look the same.
Right.
And I want, or if the flat head, the counter bore, whatever, I want it all to be the same.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Now, when you say life cycle care, what are you talking about?
Well, life cycle care, basically it's a concept where things that we buy, our hobbies, our passions, things that we interact with, things that we buy and we cherish, have a life cycle to them. You know, they're shiny new at the store when we buy them, and when we bring them home, there are certain things we need to do to them to help them maintain their value. There are things that, you know, if it's, and life cycle even applies to pets, for example. I buy a reptile, for example, a little bearded dragon at Petco, and I take it home, and it's got a life cycle. It starts out small and it grows. It eats little crickets, little 1/4-inch crickets, then it eats 1/2-inch crickets, then it eats 1-inch crickets, and then it eats vegetarian.
But eventually the crickets are faster than the dragon.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
So the dragon would go hungry.
Yeah, it gets kind of chubby and lazy and just wants to sit there with its tongue and you know, flick out at a cricket if it goes by, and if it doesn't go by.
And you can see the crickets drawing a line saying, this is the range of the tongue. Do not step over the line or you become bearded dragon food for the night.
Yeah, so I kind of hopped into the animal care, but pretty much anything has a life cycle, including a hobby you might have, a pet you might buy, etc. And everything needs to be cared for to maintain its value or its health.
So now, when I think of what I get from stores, you know, I go and I buy a guitar, I buy a dragon, I buy something. And they say, would you like to sign up for being spammed every other day? And it's like, oh no, I already have that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, to me, I think people have to understand that life cycle care is not opening the doors to marketing spam.
Right. Life cycle care is all about expert recommendations about how to take care of something at the right time with the right information. And it's about helping educate the consumer or the person who's passionate about whether it be playing a guitar or raising a snake or a bearded dragon or smoking cigars or collecting wine. These are all things that are people's hobbies, people's passions. And I happen to indulge in several of those. And they all come with a life cycle, and there are certain things you do at certain points in time that enhance your participation with a hobby.
So now you're sitting there, we'll get back to the individual applications in a minute, but you're sitting there saying, okay, I've got this idea. People are tired of getting, you know, like I go to a pet store. Next thing I'm getting is gato food on sale. My cat doesn't eat that food. Why am I getting all this nonsense? You know, or lizard bits, you know, buy parts for your lizard. It's like, I don't have a lizard. So I can understand the need to get me information that's appropriate at the appropriate time, that's relevant at the appropriate time. But, okay, you got this idea.
Right.
You can go at whatever age and go work for an engineering company and get that salary. I mean, you know, I assume that you have the same type children that I have, relentlessly wanting to be fed and clothed.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to go start a company. Unless I'm independently wealthy, where do I start?
Well, I think with me, I was doing some consulting at the same time to sort of at least keep the lights on and buy the peanut butter and jelly that we needed for food. And as I developed this new concept, and I really didn't know that it was life cycle care at the beginning. I had a problem where I'm a musician and I have some very nice musical instruments, wooden guitars, acoustic guitars. And
Now, it's not the new Martin $140,000 guitar, right?
No, and that's 150,000.
Oh, okay. Either way, that's out of my range.
And as a matter of fact, our technology is protecting that guitar now. I'll talk about that.
We'll talk, wait a minute.
a little bit.
Martin is coming to a company from WPI local to protect their flagship guitar?
Well, not Martin through our partner TKL. TKL makes cases for Martin, and we've helped them develop a smart case. And these smart cases have sensors in them to monitor the guitar, make sure it's at the right humidity and your guitar won't crack.
And
like
we'll get,
mine
I'm
did.
sorry to take you off track.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so you're sitting there saying, I got this idea.
Yeah,
I want to protect my guitar because
because it cracked.
it cracked because I didn't keep the humidity right or the
That's right.
temperature right.
Humidity
Okay, so
got too dry.
I want somebody to tell me when the humidity might be a problem before it cracks.
That's right.
Because once it cracked, you can't add humidity and uncrack it.
Right.
So, okay, I got this idea that I want to protect my guitars or something.
Mm-hmm.
And the two big culprits seem to be temperature and humidity.
Mm-hmm.
And I want some program to tell me, hey, by the way, if you don't pay attention, we're going to crack your guitar. Or it's going to crack on its own.
That's right.
So now you sit there and say, I got this idea.
Yeah.
I'm going to develop a sensor or some kind of feedback mechanism. How do you pay for it?
Well, I hired a good friend of mine. I hired his son, who's a very smart engineer right out of Aeronautical Engineering School at Colorado State, Michael Gordon, and he helped me build a prototype, a first prototype, which kind of barely worked. And it talked to your iPhone. It was wireless. It sat in your guitar or in your guitar case, and it said, "Oh, my humidity's thus and such," and it popped up on the screen, and it popped an alarm when it went over a certain amount.
Before cracking.
Before cracking, you could set the limits. And then I brought that prototype to Taylor Guitars. They're the largest maker of acoustic guitars in the world. They're out in El Cajon, California. And I showed it to them. I showed it to TKL, the largest case maker.
You go to Bob Taylor, the
Yeah.
cornerstone of guitars,
Yeah.
and you say, hey, I got a way of protecting your guitars that you've never thought of. And he just let you in?
Yeah, I actually talked to one of Bob's visionaries. His name's David Hosler, who's now retired, by the way. But and David sort of let me in the door. He's like, tell me more about this idea, because they and every other acoustic instrument maker of violins, cellos, guitars, anything sensitive to moisture, their biggest enemy is humidity, and their warranty claims, because they have an unbelievable warranty. They're getting guitars every day that are cracked, especially in the winter months in New England or in the dry areas in Arizona and so forth. And they have to be fixed. They have to be repaired. They'll never look like they did coming, from the store.
But when you send your guitar back,
Yeah.
and they do their Taylor care or whatever, they can't uncrack it.
No, they can kind of mend the seams a little bit, and on mine, which I left at home, I didn't bring with me today. There's a cleat. They cleat it. They put little pieces of wood and glue 'em from the
okay.
underside and kind of try to,
So
try to-
hamburger helper to make the hamburger taste a little better, but it's never quite sirloin anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it decreases the value, and you can get things like the neck can warp, you can split if it gets too much humidity in regions that are high humidity regions in Asia or along the coast in Florida, you can get other problems. Or too much heat, the glue melts and the necks break off and all sorts of nasty
Or people
things.
file down.
Yeah,
Because all of a sudden, if it shrinks, if I remember, your fingers can now start being less than happy running across metal barbs.
that's right. That's right.
But then when you rehydrate the guitar, well, you can't re-metal.
That's right. You can't add metal to it. So then they're stuck in a little bit. And actually, that's exactly what I did to repair my $3,500, Taylor 815 guitar the first time this happened. And so basically, it was, trying to solve a problem, trying to identify a problem before it happened, so it wouldn't happen again to me or anybody else.
So I could set a program
Yeah.
to say if the humidity goes below this or above that, this is a warning. This is not a good situation for my
Right.
guitar.
Right.
And now I've got a chance, because the first time it hits it, it's not going to crack instantly,
That's right.
or it's not going to, swell instantly. I have a chance to fix it.
That's right. Yep.
Whatever I'm doing, get it out of the sunlight, get it, into a different room.
Yeah.
So now I go to Taylor Visionary.
Mm-hmm.
He introduces me to Bob Taylor,
Mm-hmm.
and Bob asks about this new technology.
Yeah, he did. We showed it to him. I showed it to him, and he said, "Wow, this is pretty cool. I feel like the guitars I build are now talking to me. They're talking to my customers, telling my customers, hey, here's how to treat me better. Here's how to maintain my value." So it wound up sort of unlocking. The sensor is only the connection from the instrument to the customer, but it wound up unlocking a connection back to Taylor Guitars, so they can send educational information to the customer on how to better take care of their guitar, what maintenance things they need to do, what the value of the instrument should be, training, lessons on playability. How can you improve playability? What kinds of things do you need to do at 6 months, like oil the fretboard, or when do you need to change strings? All those kinds of
Yeah,
things.
but it's also don't file down my frets the first time, because there's downside to that.
Yeah,
So let's say Bob Taylor, who has a passion for guitars.
yeah,
It's obviously not the money driving him anymore,
right,
because he's made enough that now it's the passion of his name and his guitars doing better. And he says, "Oh, I'd like 100, 1,000, a billion." And now Bob the Bean sits there and says, "Oh, okay. Where does the money come?" Because the next step would be build some for me, right? Or prove to me this works.
yeah, that's right.
So you prove to him it works,
Yep,
and then he says, "Build me some. I want to sell them."
that's right. Yep,
Now, unless you're independently wealthy, somebody's going to want money for these sensors.
that's right. Yeah, so what we did was, once we started getting some initial traction with Taylor Guitars and with a company called D'Addario, that's the largest maker of guitar strings in the world, and as well as some other companies, we formed a bigger team, brought in a very strategic move was to bring in Ken Rapp as our CEO, and Ken, who you know from your past life, and you continue to stay in contact with Ken today. He's he's a brilliant entrepreneur himself, and he knows how to run a company, he knows how to grow a company, and he and I are very complementary. I'm more of a visionary customer relations person, and Ken just knows how to build and scale to many markets, and so we're getting pulled into all sorts of different areas.
But I'd love to be in the conversation where you pull Ken aside and say, we really could use your help as our CEO. Maybe in a few years we could actually pay you for all the work you're going to do.
Well, I actually met Ken, funny story, at WPI. They have an event every month that's called the Tech Advisor Network. So if any of your viewers are thinking about being crazy and starting a business, it's no charge, but they have meetings once a month. Google WPI TAN, T-A-N program, and you can go to the meetings. And so I had presented about Blustream to the group at TAN. There were 50 people or so in the audience. Ken was one of the audience members, and he had just sold his company and was taking some time off. He's a guitar player. He was playing guitar and sort of enjoying his summer, and he approached me after the meeting and said, tell me more about what you're trying to do, Bob, and have you raised any money, and do you what's your business plan, and so forth. And I
you
said,
pulled out $32.80.
I said, do you know where I can find some money, Ken? And and I found out that that he had quite a few contacts of investment contacts and so forth. And I told him, I don't know why I said this, but I said, because I really liked him. Right off the bat, I was like, okay, this guy is an execution guy, knows how to build big businesses and create value and so forth. I said, I'm going to be gum on your shoe, Ken. So and I was. Ken and I have been working now together now for 3 years or so, and the team's grown quite a bit. We've done 2 capital raises, a small one, a small seed round, and then another Series A, small Series A. And we're about ready to scale really big because we're branching off into other markets. We're getting pulled into other markets.
So now you have to get somebody who can donate their time.
Yes.
Because you can't really hire a top caliber CEO when your bankroll is $32.80.
Yep.
So you go out, you do a little, I guess, friends and family, or if you're good enough, you do a real Series A.
Yeah.
But that money, I mean, there's always the question, do I want to raise a lot of money early? And everybody will say, of course. And you say, okay, how much am I going to pay for that in equity?
Yeah.
If I raise too much money early, then all of a sudden I'm giving away half or 3/4 of the company.
Right.
So is it...
It's a balance.
The CEO got to be the one that has to really come through with saying, okay, this makes the best sense? Because it's your equity.
Yeah, but from the standpoint of, from my position, even though, it was my idea and I built a founding team, and I really consider Ken a founder, even though he came in a year or so after we originally had the idea, and we're starting to get a little bit of traction. I'll call it false traction because it didn't really work the way it's supposed to work. It was a version 1.0. We incented the team with stock options and so forth, and but Ken's also invested his own hard-earned money in the company.
But now you got an idea.
Yep.
You come up with a sensor that says, I'm going to protect my guitar, my bearded dragon,
my
my
cigars, my wine,
my valuables.
Yep.
And then you learn that, okay, that's kind of cool, but that's not really the value.
Yeah, that's right.
So now you have to expand again to say, yeah, it's kind of nice that you're telling me this is how I protect my guitar.
Yeah.
But the real value then is, hey, Bob, it's time for strings, or it should be.
Yeah. It's about making, the Internet of Things is all about leveraging technology to make life easier for you and I, the consumer. Help educate them on enjoying their passion.
Now, most people know what an IOU is, but most people don't know what an IoT is, Internet of Things.
Right.
What does that really mean?
Internet of Things is all about connecting things, and it could be anything: a guitar, a cigar humidor, a wine cellar, your house to the internet, and then back down to you. So it's about, typically it's about sensors or your Nest thermometer in your house or whatever. In the case of what we do, we have sensors in objects like guitars or this humidor here. We have a sensor in here, and it's reading the data. Let me see if I can find it. It's buried under my cigars here.
Right here.
Oh yeah, here it is. And so this is a very small sensor. It has a battery that lasts over a year in it, and it reads temperature, humidity, and motion every 30 minutes. And it sends it to your smartphone and up to the cloud, and then back down to you wherever you might be.
So I don't have to carry another device.
No, this stays with your valuable thing.
This stays with my thing.
Yep.
And I'm carrying my phone. Let's face it, we all walk around with our phones these days.
Yes, yep.
So do you put an app on my phone, or what do you do?
We do. Here's an app for Boveda, which is another company we work with in the cigar space. And I've got my 4 humidors. I'm monitoring them. This one right here, it's showing me the humidity right here now is 64%. And I can reorder my Boveda packs, which are keeping my cigars fresh, just by a swipe. So
I don't have to deal with
these things.
how many times I had to go get my little clay insert and remember to add water to my clay insert so it would keep my cigars humid.
Right, exactly.
I have that little fancy pack that I throw in there.
This little pack here. And our app tells you, this pack's is going to expire actually in 7 to 10 days. Swipe here to order a new one, and it shows up on your door.
Oh.
So it's they say no mess, no worries, enjoy for Boveda, and it's
But it's more,
they sell
it says
millions of these things.
69%. I throw it in,
Yep.
let it equilibrate, and as long as it stays around 69, plus or minus whatever I feel is comfortable, my phone is happy.
Yep, your phone is happy, and everything's kosher. When it starts to fail, when this packet starts to fail, we have sophisticated algorithms that you can barely tell. If you were looking at this gauge, you wouldn't be able to tell it's starting to fail. But our algorithms behind the scene know that it's dropping a little bit. It's dropping a little bit each day, and they know, it will start to fail in 7 to 10 days. Would you like to order a new one? And swipe, you reorder,
and you're done.
And exactly. And so we're connecting customers to the things they love, like cigars, for example, so they can protect them.
So my
and
my
not worry about
Cohibas
it.
won't dry out.
Exactly. Your Cohibas won't dry out.
And I have a week. It's telling me, hey, Schmotkins, you got a week.
Yeah.
You're going to start losing humidity, and they're going to become dry in a week unless you either drive all the way to some place and find them, or hit this button and they magically show up on your doorstep.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then you have the opportunity here to connect with people that smoke cigars and possibly sell them cigars.
Now,
So our platform allows not only you to buy Boveda packs, but it will allow you to buy cigars and accessories.
but now something like a guitar.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to tell me, hey, by the way, I'm starting to get dry in here, or it's a little warm. Do you realize you or your ungrateful offspring pushed me against the window and I'm getting direct sunlight?
Mm-hmm.
So I can fix that.
That's right.
But now, the real value to me is, okay, if I'm not being silly, I know I put the guitar in the right place. It's in the house and the humidity is right and the temperature is right.
Mm-hmm.
But this Internet of Things, this life cycle care is a whole new idea that, okay, I know that if you played so many hours, your strings should be wearing out.
That's right. Yep, that's right.
Okay, I don't want my strings to wear out, and then now I got to drive down to the music store. It's cold, it's snowing, it's hot.
That's right.
So I can just swipe and it tells me you should be considering new strings?
It actually will tell you, the life cycle care algorithms will tell you based on the environmental conditions and your playing habits. It learns about you specifically versus me. It's brand new technology that's been developed recently called machine learning. It actually learns your preferences. So it's tailored to you, Al, versus me, Bob. And over time, it gets better and better about predicting. It's got predictive algorithms to know when you might need new Bovida packs, when you might need new strings, maybe when you might want to buy your next guitar, 12-string guitar or electric guitar, or your next box of Cohiba cigars, for example. So the life cycle algorithms help to predict and serve up the right information to you, whether it be video content, articles, blogs, through the app, educational information, purchasing information. Here's a new type of cigar. Here's a new type of...
Well, now wait a minute. When my daughters wanted to learn how to play a musical instrument.
Yeah.
Okay, like all of us, we were excited and we're going to support that.
Yeah.
Especially people like me with my musical talent. Everything I touch sounds like you're pulling the tail off a small farm animal, But from what you're saying, if it's watching or detecting how often I play,
Yeah.
number one, that's kind of cool because as a parent, they're supposed to practice 3 hours here or 5 hours a week.
Yeah.
It can tell me, are they?
Yeah.
And then if they are, can it send me information saying, okay, your child's been playing this instrument for this period of time. They should be at this level or learning these things.
We haven't developed the algorithms to that level of sophistication yet, but in theory, absolutely yes. As a matter of fact, we have a piano at my parents' house, and we have a sensor in the inside of the piano, which they can be very sensitive to humidity. You can crack the wood and the actual block itself. Pianos cost a lot of money. And it keeps track of how often that piano's played. So absolutely, in the future, we could collaborate with, lessons, or even mommy and daddy, or, little Johnny left his violin in the gym.
Well, see, that was
because
my next question.
we also
Does
know
it know where it is?
it knows where it was last connected to your phone.
Well, the phone is attached to my ungrateful offspring
Right, exactly.
24/7.
Exactly.
So if they come home and, the musical instrument I had, they can't remember, where'd you leave it? I don't know.
On the bus.
On the bus.
Yeah, it absolutely, the technology is designed to monitor environmental conditions and monitor motion and proximity, what we call proximity. So proximity is it's left your possession, for example. And
So I would know that the last time Johnny had his instrument near his phone was in the gym
Exactly.
at 3 o'clock.
yep, exactly.
Boy, that makes it easy for me now to backtrace and call the school
Right.
and say, did you find this in the gym?
Yeah, and that feature came from some actual customers. One in particular, she's the first violinist at the Rhode Island Symphony. And
Oh, a novice.
Yeah, novice. She's a brilliant violinist, and her baby, was made in 1645. I'm not sure what it's worth, but it's worth an awful lot of money. It's what she does for a living. And one winter's night, after playing at the Rhode Island Symphony, she drove back to Massachusetts. She was very tired, got out of her car and went into her house and forgot to get take her violin out. Well, what does water do when it freezes? What does moisture do?
Oh, expand and
It expands. And it cracked her 1645 violin and caused thousands and thousands of dollars worth of damage. She was heartbroken. So we put in this feature, which is a proximity. So if it leaves your possession, boom, you get notified right away. So it would have notified her. So now we have that feature.
So if she had one of the sensors, it would have said, hey,
exactly.
You forgot me.
Exactly.
And I could save, in the thousands of dollars hurt.
Yeah.
But it's not like you're just going to go out to EO violin store and pick up another violin from 1600s.
Exactly. And part of what we've done recently with this life cycle care engine is we've put in the technology in the cases to help protect the instrument, but we've partnered with companies that sell violin strings and these Bovida humidity packs and chin rests and bows, new
But
bows,
now you
and
talk
stuff
about
like that.
cases.
Yeah.
So you've got Tom and Tommy, the family, and if you talk to them, there seems to be a passion about developing cases that protect instruments.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you're referring to is the company that builds all the cases for Martin guitars and Gibson guitars and a lot of them for Fender and pretty much every brand. You walk into a music store, this company makes their cases, and they've decided to partner with us to develop smart cases. So cases that don't just protect an instrument from being dropped, but they protect an instrument from bad environmental conditions, theft, unwanted motion. So elevating the concept of a case from just simply protecting the instrument to actually safeguarding it and building a direct connection with the customer, so they protect what they love.
So Tom and Tommy for a long time have been building cases that if I go to kick it, it protects the guitar.
Yeah.
But nobody ever had anything in there that said, okay, I'm going to nurture my baby, I'm going to take care of it, and I'm leaving it under the window where the sunlight's going to hit it and crack it.
Yeah, cases have been the same for hundreds of years. It's same thing with cigar humidors. They're boxes of wood, or a wooden case for an instrument. And now they're smart. With our technology, we've made them smart, and we've connected them back to the consumer, back to the brand, like Taylor Guitars or others.
Some of these guitars, like we joke, $150,000 guitar.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the 2 millionth guitar made by Martin Guitars. They made a.
They had a 1 million for a mere 100,000.
Yeah, inflation.
But again, to me, it seems like yes, if I'm spending 150,000 on a guitar, I can hire a person to watch it every day. But when my children and I'm spending $500, or you said $3,500 for your guitar.
Yes.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Losing that or cracking that, it may not be 150,000, but 3,500 to the average person is going to hurt if you hurt the guitar.
Yeah, absolutely.
And does it help? It seems like there's a religious thing, that if I grew up on Taylor guitars, I seem to always stay with Taylor guitars.
Yeah, there's kind of a brand affinity for sure. I'd love to have a Martin guitar. Actually, I don't own one, but I have my eye on one.
Why? You've got a bunch of Taylor guitars. What does a Martin guitar do that a Taylor doesn't?
It's a different sound. It's a different playability. The neck is different. I think I have 5 Taylor guitars. I have a 12-string. I've got a small body one, which is right here.
Small body one.
Small body. So this one is it's fairly small compared to my body, and it's right now it's got these packs in the sound hole which protect and keep it from cracking. And our technology actually,
I was going to say,
that we've
where do you
developed-
put the sensor?
it's right in here actually, and I'd have to unscrew it to show you, but it's actually built into the guitar, and this is where a battery goes, and you would plug this into a PA system if you wanted to perform out, and the sound travels
So it's
out
like a
through the
little
PA
sound
system.
module?
Yeah, most guitars these days, even acoustic guitars, are called acoustic electric guitars, and
Wait a minute. I think of an electric guitar,
yeah,
a Strat,
yeah,
you know, a Stratocaster or something, a Fender.
yeah.
I don't think of a hybrid of acoustic. You know, you think of your Taylor, your Martin,
Yeah.
you know, Stephen Stills and his music, and Tom Petty and his music, but I don't think of electric guitars. Do electric guitars have the same problem?
They do. It's actually the reverse problem with acoustic guitars. When they get dry, the neck bends in a certain orientation. Electric guitars, when they get too dry, the neck bends in the opposite. So with wood, it shrinks if it gets dry. So the action comes up. The playability is bad. The neck can warp. It can split. With electric guitars, the neck bends the other way when it gets dry, and the strings buzz, and the frets become sharp on the end and have to be.
Well, that's where
down.
people start filing them down, and then they rehydrate, and all of a sudden,
Exactly. So this is what makes it an acoustic electric. There's a volume and a bass and a treble, and you wouldn't know it unless you looked at the top of this guitar, but it makes it real easy for someone to plug their instrument cable in and play out at a restaurant or bar, or record in their studio, record a new song, so most guitars these days are acoustic electric, and we've built our technology to basically
plug right in.
Plug right in, exactly.
So now, the algorithm is going to know how often I played it and come back to me and say, hey, by the way, you need new strings.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tie me to, I grew up with these strings. Now there's all these other fancy strings. Can you tie me to information that would tell me, hey, by the way, you ought to consider these strings?
Yeah, usually the manufacturer has recommended strings, but you can certainly, user preference can vary from that. And so as the life cycle care learns your tastes and learns what you like, and helps curate the content for you on what types of new strings might be interesting to try, or whatever. It all designed to have you help you have a better experience with your passion, whether it be playing guitar or.
Now, on the same token, I
whatever.
buy a pet, a bearded dragon, a little lizard, or another type exotic pet.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping them at the right temperature and humidity, or knowing when I'm supposed to feed them certain supplements like vitamins, and
Mm-hmm.
that's just not making a happier pet. Isn't that expanding its lifetime? Or
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Whether it be an aquarium or a reptile or whatever, they all have certain care profiles that start at when they're purchased, and little Johnny brings them home, or Dad brings them home with little Johnny, and that care profile changes over time. You mentioned bearded dragons. They have these light bulbs, UVB light bulbs and UV light bulbs, that have to be on a certain amount of time during the day, if they don't see the UVB bulbs, they won't develop the right skeletal structure, and they'll die. These bulbs last about 6 months, and then you have to replace them and get a new bulb. And they're fairly expensive. They're $50 or $60 for a bulb. And so someone who's into that hobby will spend $120 a year on just bulbs, but you've got to know when to change them. They look just like a regular light bulb. You can't tell it's burned out. It still lights. So
I could think I'm taking care of
yeah,
Beardo,
yeah,
and I'm really letting him die by not developing.
yeah, yep. And interesting story. One of the gentlemen at Taylor Guitars told me last month that he bought a bearded dragon for his son, and son I think is 6 years old, and said, you know, you have to take care of it and so forth. They have a terrarium they bought at Petco, and they've got the, you know, all the food and the little crickets and everything. Well, they plugged the bulb in, you know, the light bulb in. It's in their guest room, the terrarium. Someone went in, a guest, and unplugged it to charge their phone.
Oh, wow.
And 2 days later, the little bearded dragon was dead. And so this gentleman at Taylor Guitars said that his son, you know, basically guilted him to go in getting another one, and they're learning, you know, how to take care of it, and that it really needs care over its life cycle. So if they were using our sensor monitoring technology, that never would have happened. They would have gotten an alert, a life cycle care alert.
So now I get my little bearded dragon,
Yeah.
and I put the crickets in, and the little bearded dragon is skinny and quick, and it eats up crickets.
Yeah,
Eventually,
yeah,
the dragon gets big enough that the crickets can laugh at it and say, I know your tongue is this long, and I'm going to stay just out of your range,
yeah.
and you're not going to get me. So the thing's going to basically starve.
Yeah, it transitions at about a year old to a vegetarian diet, believe it or not, and needs certain vitamins and so forth. So that's all based on this life cycle care algorithm that we develop with our partners, and helps you enjoy your hobby, and helps keep these animals alive.
I'm going to protect my dragon
Yeah,
by knowing, hey, it's about time when you should be seeing these signs, and he's gone veggie.
yeah, exactly. And these animals live 10 years, you know, and they start off small, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and you need a bigger terrarium, and you know, sometimes you'll have two per terrarium or 3 per terrarium, and you know, the same thing with aquatics and fish, except the big culprit there is temperature and ammonia levels in the water, which can kill fish. So a lot of, you know, our passion is really helping people enjoy the things they love and giving them the information
So I got a choice
on
of
life
either
cycle care.
teaching the fish to get out of the pool and go pee in the toilet, or getting a warning that, hey, by the way, you better exchange
Yeah.
X volume of water
Yeah,
to dilute out the ammonia.
yeah,
I don't think I can teach it real well how to go to the toilet.
yeah, yeah.
That's interesting. And, you know, one of the things I think you run into as a parent is, okay, I've thought of everything I can think of to play with this silly thing. What else is there? You know, and boy, I would be happy if somebody was sending me a note saying, hey, your gecko dragon thingy is now 6 months old.
Mm-hmm.
You can look at these options and kind
Yeah.
of have some different fun with the beast.
Yeah, there are all sorts of things that hobbyists do. They'll decorate the terrariums. You know what makes them really sensitive to humidity and temperature is they have no internal temperature regulation like we do as mammals.
Cold-blooded, yes.
Yeah, they're cold-blooded, so they take on their body temperature is the temperature of the room. So what happened when that person unplugged the bulb and charged their phone was that bearded dragon froze to death because it had no internal heating mechanism. It relies on a bulb. It goes underneath the bulb, and once it has had enough heat, it goes over to the other side of the cage and cools off. Then it
So
goes to
it
the
got
bulb.
hyperthermia, even though it's 60 degrees or 70 degrees
Exactly.
in the room.
Yeah, so these animals want to be at the environment that they live in, but it's an artificial environment in the home. You know, just like guitars, you know, the wood is alive.
Yeah.
It doesn't know it's not a tree anymore. So it needs to maintain that moisture level to maintain optimum playability.
That's fascinating. So I can sign up for this, and I'm not going to get spammed with gecko-related things when I don't have a gecko.
Right. Yeah, the app is designed to help you enjoy the hobby that you're for the app that you've connected and you've downloaded, and it's very specific to the animal you have, or the guitar you have, or the cigars you buy, or whatever. It's not sending you an email
So
every
now
other
let me
day
ask
for a
you
discount coupon.
Right.
No.
And I was going to say, let me ask you
No.
a tough question.
Sure.
Okay, when they say sign up, it's like not a prayer. I'm not giving you my email.
Yeah.
You'll spam me for every other day, purple cat food, green cat food. I don't have a cat.
Yeah.
Normally, if you could get 1% of the people to sign up for an app, vendors are all excited.
Yeah.
So you're making this pitch about life cycle care, which is a whole new kettle of tuna fish that
Mhm.
nobody's ever heard of.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of response have you been getting?
Well, we see over 90% of the people that get a sensor sign up and get the app and download the app. And we see a 40 to 50% engagement rate per month, which means that the users that have, and we have over 20,000 users right now in different areas, and that means that they're going onto the app once a month, at least once a month, and checking on things. And then when our life cycle engine recommends you should purchase something to either maintain the health of your cigars or whatever, we're seeing a 30% plus conversion rate.
That's incredible.
It is. It's
I
incredible.
mean, I love the idea that you're telling me, hey, I should buy some product to watch the humidity, or my guitar strings are now dull. I don't have to buy from the app,
No, you don't.
but I
But
don't
it's
have to-
convenient because you swipe
I was
to
gonna say,
reorder.
I don't have to get in the car and drive somewhere. I can just go whoop.
Exactly. And it shows up on your doorstep.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you for the insight.
Yeah.
As we come down to the end, it's always amazing, that people give up the safety of a paycheck, convincing your darling bride that, no, I want to go try this again, whether I get paid or not for 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
we'll deal with it. You don't think of those things when you see people turning on companies and using their entrepreneurialism, but my hat is off to you. Congratulations.
Thanks, Al. Appreciate
And
it.
as always, to our 6 loyal viewers, thanks for joining. May God bless, and may tomorrow be a better night than tonight. Thank you.
Great. Thanks.
See the credits rolling in about 30 seconds. You'll tell us, and we're clean. 58 minutes. We hit it within 15 seconds of the target.
Is it still being filmed right now?
Yeah. Oh. Until she shuts off the camera and see. If you look up, it's